Let's start with Les to get going.
Hey, Les.
Hey, Coach. Big game against Arizona State on Saturday. Looking forward to, on Sunday.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. What does this team got to do to be successful against an old Pac-12 rival?
Yeah, they're undefeated. I think there's 5 or 6 teams, I just saw that this morning, that are still undefeated in our sport, and they're one of them, coming off a big win at Penn State. Was that yesterday? I think yesterday. And they just compete. That's what I am impressed by. They just get after you. It's 94 feet. It's pressure. And then, they're creative in the ways they score. They've got inside presence. They flash to the middle. They can knock threes down. But it's, Molly's not Charlie, but the team looks somewhat similar. It's interesting. Just the way, it's going to be a fight. Is kind of, as I'm watching them and getting to know them, that's what I see. It's going to be physical and tough, and it's going to be a challenge of toughness. And so similar to the old days.
How do you feel like where your team is at right now? You go to the islands, have some adversity there. You come back, you play a couple games at home. A little bit of a slow start against that Alaska Anchorage squad, but you get the job done. What do you guys feel like you're at right now?
Yeah. It was a fast start, and then it got slow, and it was what an interesting game that was. Well, the last couple of weeks have been, that's probably the word, interesting. Maybe the non-conference has been interesting. I think we're fighting for consistency. I think that's the challenge at the moment. We have these, I remember saying it a year ago, we have these flashes of brilliance. It's kind of similar. We have these moments where we look really good. And then we have moments where we don't. And, on both ends of the floor, And so I guess I expect that on the offensive end. When you're playing, a 4 and a 5, 2 bigs that are new to the program pretty much all game. You're going to have some learning, and there's going to be a curve there. For us, we're a little inconsistent on the defensive end, and that's not typical for our program, and that's what I've been focusing on this week and in general. But some things that I've just taken for granted, I'm needing to coach right now, and that's fine. Every team has this journey. So where we're at is we're kind of finding our identity overall as a group, and we're trying to figure out a way to be more and more consistent, so that we can be, that team that outscored Vandy by a bunch in the second quarter, and that team, we outscored Oregon in the second half for what it's worth. I thought we really competed well that half and played well, and we're the team that, beat a very good Illinois team, in a complete game. And so we know that that's there. It's how do we bring that out, minute by minute, possession by possession, because that's what's demanded. Anything else, you're truly rolling the dice.
Kind of, Coach, speaking on those inconsistencies, just looking at some of the numbers, turnovers obviously have been kind of a big issue. When you turn over the ball over, you don't have as many shots. I know the last couple of losses, it feels like teams are having 12, 13 more shots than you guys, which more opportunities to score points. How have you guys kind of maybe addressed that in practice this week, going against an Arizona State squad that's top 50 in the nation so far early in the season and enforcing turnovers?
Yeah, it'll be a test. And so that's the opportunity, for the next 3 days as we're preparing for them. Just learn, understanding what they're going to do, what they've done anyway in previous games, and understanding what we're going to have to do to take care of the ball. And we're going to have to really be gritty and tough and grind every offensive possession. There's no downtime. As far as turnovers go, I feel like it's somewhat normal. I don't want to understate it because obviously we're not undefeated, and turnovers have been an issue. And so it is a focal point. At the same time, I'm realistic in understanding that we're playing a lot of different people at a lot of different positions, and we've played, a pretty tough schedule, for who we are. And, because of that, we've really been challenged, and we've had some people really be challenged, individually. And so that's good for us, so those are growing pains. Some of them are not acceptable, I'll be honest. I watch, I'm like, what are we doing? We've lost focus, in this moment or that. And then I look in the mirror and I'm like, okay, have we prepared them as well as we can? And how can we tweak things to prepare them, more effectively? So I think I know we've also had stretches where there have been very few mistakes with ball handling, where the level of focus has been higher. Maybe I've stayed with a more consistent lineup for longer as I'm searching and learning this team. We're trying different things. That was so unique, in our last game was we had, we played 14, people and Kira, barely got in at the end. But, everybody else got a decent run out there. But we had some combinations that hadn't been on the floor together, all year. So there's going to be, some chaos, I guess, to be expected. But I think that will normalize as we go. And, I know us much better. I'm so grateful for the schedule we've had, because I know, not exactly, but pretty much who this team is, and maybe some things I thought we might be, that we're not. And maybe some things I didn't know that we are. And so, going to our strengths more will probably make us more efficient, on both ends of the floor.
Do you kind of like where the team is at right now? I know you talked about similarities from last season to this season, and looking at the schedule, it feels like you guys have faced even a tougher, stretch unto this point. Do you feel like you like at least what you're seeing so far up to this point in the season from the group?
Yeah, in general, yes. I mean, there's some things that, here's a thing we haven't talked about yet. It's hard coming off a year where you cut a net. Nobody talks about that, but it's hard because you think it was easy. That's a cliche thing to say. I think I said it before the season started, but there's been some things where it's as if we've taken some things for granted. It appears as we've thought, well, maybe this is going to be easier. If I just remember, last year we cut a net, we're good. We had to play at the limit, to make last year happen. That group grinded so hard, and they wanted it so bad, played with a chip on their shoulder. Well, when you cut a net, it's hard to have that chip on your shoulder. That chip's filled in. You got it. You got what you wanted. And it tricks your brain, And so I think I just think back to previous Decembers of years. I mean, I can tell you our Final Four season, I was so frustrated with that team in December. We had come off a year where we won the pack, and we had everybody, most everybody back, the 9 core players back. And, we're picked to win it. We're kind of rolling through things. We were so unfocused in December. I mean, there was one day, and we were all younger as a staff back then. I was so frustrated with the team, we played against them. And I'm like, I just want to play against these guys, and we beat them. Our staff did. We're talking Ruth Hamlin, Sydney Weiss, Jamie Weisner, that whole Devin, that whole group. And it was like, yeah, you guys, you think you're good, but we're not playing good. We are, but we're not at the moment. And so, I feel like this team is kind of fighting that a little bit. So anyway, so we have these moments where we're so gritty and tough, and I see that competitive fire come out, then I see us a little bit soft and relaxed just a little bit. And I just feel, human nature, be patient. It's part of the deal. We'll help them through it. So I mostly like where we are. And I'm excited for it to finally click to where we hit that moment where it's like, okay, it truly takes everything we have, and we're all willing to give it all at the same time. When that happens, I think this team can be really good.
Hey, Coach DeAndre, K-Val News. Now, I want to go back to something you just mentioned. You mentioned that you know your team pretty well, and you also say you've seen flashes of brilliance, right? We've also seen periods where you guys went on 4-game win streaks, but we've also seen periods where you went on 3-game losing streaks. What is something that you've learned about your team amongst those 4 losses that you guys have this year?
Yeah. Well, we're not a top 20 team yet. That's what I learned. Vandy showed us that. We can be inconsistent. And so at the same time, we have gone toe-to-toe with them, those teams, those veteran teams with elite guard play and, just excellent basketball teams. We've gone toe-to-toe with them for stretches. We just weren't we weren't good enough yet to be in the game at the end. And so we have a ways to go, and that's a good thing for all of us to know. And so it's focused on, I'm focused more on the defensive end than anything right now, not neglecting offense, of course, but we have to get back to that brand of basketball. We can't give up points like we have. We can't give up the field goal percentage that we have. You mentioned that we typically lose the turnover battle. Historically, even in our very best seasons, that's normal for us. Because we're not out gambling. We're not extended out like some other teams, and we don't give up layups because of it, typically. But we're also engaged defensively with guards. We fight through screens. We're there on the other side of screens. We're challenging shots. And right now we're getting blasted by screens, and we're giving up open shots, and things that just we can't do if we want the season we've talked about wanting. So some of those things have just been kind of glaring, weaknesses that we have to shore up, So I would look at the schedule a little bit, during those stretches of wins and losses, and I'd say, yeah, that was a tough schedule. We learned some things, but we're going to be better for it going forward.
We've talked pretty extensively about, WAR's youth and kind of that language barrier. I'm curious, with about a month under your guys' belt, 10 games now, how have you seen that develop? What's kind of left there, and, how close do you feel like you are to unlocking that?
Well, yeah, it's helping her be comfortable on the floor and be confident, and putting her in positions to be confident. When she knows, that a shot's coming, she's a much better shooter than not. And so understanding how to use her. We recruited her with this group more as a 4, but she's always been a 5. And so she's very comfortable at the 5 position, very effective at the 5 position, both offensively and defensively. But she's gotten most of the reps at the 4 because of, Lizzie, Nene, and E are down there at 6'5", 6'8". And but she's a very good 5, so now I'm using her over there a little bit more, which is a new position. So the learning curve is steep, but I'm seeing her relax and get more and more comfortable, more and more effective in all aspects of it. Our 5 sets a lot of screens, and we kind of play through the 5 a lot. It's a hub of what we do. In many cases, so there is a steep learning curve there. So for me, it's just a matter of time with her. Anybody that plays that hard and is that skilled is going to have success. And so for me, I'd say offensively learning our system at the 5, and defensively understanding how to guard a 4, which is new for her. Guarding a guard basically. So the other day against Anchorage, they were 4 guards around a big, and so she's guarding literally, an attacking wing, or a true wing, just a true shooting guard, and that's new for her, and she got exposed a little bit, but there are all these little lessons, and she's so smart. She picks things up so quickly, even with the language barrier. So I'm really pleased with her.
We've been seeing more run for Sue and Lou kind of as off the wings there for you. Obviously, losing Kat has been a big hurdle to overcome for this team. But how do you feel like you guys are kind of getting there at the wing positions?
Yeah, Tiara started off the year just playing incredibly, and then went through a little bit of a slump as our competition increased as well, and so. It was neat to see her battle through that. Allie's just so steady. Katie played great the other day and gives us great minutes, and then Sue's very intelligent. Sue's the one on the team that can finish all my sentences. She knows what I'm going to say before I say it. She will remind, all the Spanish-speaking players. If I say something, that's the voice I will hear to interpret. If she feels it's necessary, so she's just always communicating, and so for Sue, I have a lot of confidence in her abilities. She's an elite post passer, obviously has deep range on her three, and understands our defensive concepts very well. And so, yeah, so it's fun to kind of see that group evolve and grow.
And, we'll obviously talk to Kennedy and Allie here in a minute, but, those two have been steady for you. It's been a slump for Kennedy shooting-wise. How are you guys kind of working through that, and what's kind of the hurdle she's really dealing with in that regard?
Well, I think it's just, confidence. I mean, that's life. It's just life, and it's hard to watch it, because you want her just to have that swagger out there. And, the first time I really studied Kennedy was, at the Child Center in the state tournament, and she hit 4 threes in the second half of a game to try to, bring her team back and put them on her shoulder, basically. And so I know I have full confidence in her as a competitor, and competitors figure it out. How to manage that, that is a challenge. Because you're walking this line of, do I just give up on it? Do I keep doing it? Do I do it in a different way? And she's just so impactful on the floor on both ends that, all that matters is, does Oregon State score this possession? Doesn't really matter how, it's just do we, and how can we consistently score? And as our point guard, that's really her ultimate responsibility, is to make sure Oregon State scores and gets a great shot this possession. What's the best shot for this group of 5 people against the defense that's being played right now? So against certain teams, it will look different, based upon the defensive scheme. And so helping her through that schematically, and then just, encouraging her, through any wave of confidence that may come and go, which happens to everyone. Everybody goes through it in one way or another, And so, anyway, she's an absolute warrior, and we're blessed by Ken every day, her leadership. And so, I'm in her corner and just supporting her as best I can, as we can, and fully believe in her.
I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but it feels like you guys are shooting a lot more threes than you have in maybe last season, the year before as well. Is that just kind of a personnel thing, or is that something you're striving to get to? What have you made of that? And
That's historic. That is what we do. When we're playing right, the ball's at the rim, or it's moved to, the open person. And I think spacing is something that we do very well, traditionally have. And that's tough to guard, And so as our 5s continue to develop and demand double teams, this team attacks the rim extremely well. So as we drive the ball and draw defenders, having people spotting up and knocking shots down is our MO. And as far as more this year, maybe because we do it a little bit better than we did at the beginning of last year, but also we're seeing the floor so much better. The way this team sees the floor is how last year's team ended the season. It's what allowed us, to win like we did down the stretch. All of a sudden that ball moved and people were shooting wide open shots instead of contested shots, because we were just a half second late in all our reads for so long last year. So I think it's just good execution.
Lizzie is less than a year out from a hip surgery, and she's talked about sometimes getting frustrated with what she's not able to do that she wants to be able to do. What are you seeing from her as she gets maybe closer to fully back to being where she was before the surgery?
Well, I'm seeing confidence grow all the time in her. And, when you have somebody that has played the game as long as she has, you got a veteran here in Lizzie. She is so skilled and smart. And I know that she knows what she's capable of, and I know she knows what it all takes on both ends of the floor. And I see her doubting if she can. And I've seen it from day one, and I knew that was part of the process when we got her. I knew her situation. So it was going to be, can she believe in her body, to be as physical as she probably wants to be and knows she needs to be. And then all the skill and all the, her instincts that I think are just such a high level, will be able to be used. Well, we outscored Vandy with her on the floor, and we outscored Oregon with her on the floor. So Lizzie is very effective for us. And so it's just kind of fun to watch it grow day by day. And it's interesting when you give her a compliment or you say, I really liked the way that you did that. You can tell how much it means to her. And that just tells me, man, she's doubting herself. She's wondering, because, she's just, I don't know, working through it all, learning to believe in herself again. And we've had many situations like this over the years. I mean, remember back to Joe Greimek, it was very similar with Joe, and then she just didn't trust her body, wasn't quite strong enough. And then Sela was a great example, coming off injuries, not trusting her body. Basketball, she knows, she loves the game, she wants to play, but can I play? Can I get down in stance? And here I'm asking her to get down in stance. Yelena was the same a few years ago. Then once they learned to trust their body, you kind of saw magic on the other side of it. And that's what I think is ahead, for not only Lizzie, but Nene is similar. Nene's battled injuries for 3 years. And so it's just awesome, to get to watch both of them play kind of freely and maybe more so than they thought.
Coach, you kind of talked about in your opening statement from Les's question, but I'm just wondering, what have been your thoughts on Coach Miller's just impact on ASU early in this season, and just her impact as a head coach? Obviously, GCU, plenty of success there, and now bringing that success, what have you seen from her and her style to where, you've been maybe impressed by what she's been able to do so early on as a head coach? Yeah, we've never coached against each other, so I can't say that I've truly studied them. I've just watched from afar. And obviously GCU was an excellent program and had some big wins, in her time there, not only in their conference, but non-conference against, power schools. And so clearly gets it done. As I was watching them last night, I watched several of their games actually last night. I was just looking on their bench and I'm seeing this veteran coaching staff. I know most of them on her staff. So she has not only her own depth of experience and success, she has aligned with others that have, and that impresses me. And her team's just, when I think of them, for the little I've known, they just play super hard. And they're just hyper competitive. That's what when I think of her, that's what I think of. And this team is on brand for that. And the way that they play is impressive.
Anybody else?
We asked the men's team this earlier, so we should ask you too. Any fun Christmas traditions in the Rueck household?
Well, right now, the biggest tradition is just getting the family together. So our kids come home from college, Cole and Kate. They get here, and then the next day we head to Maui, so they'll be with us for our Maui tournament. As far as traditions, sibling gifts on Christmas Eve. That's always very special to watch them give gifts to each other, and for a parent to watch them appreciate each other and give to each other, that's special. And then Sunday is spent typically with my family because we're all in Oregon, and so it's a beautiful time. But for a basketball coach, it's chaos. It's just like I love Christmas, but I just can't enjoy it, because practices come on the 26th and we're on a plane the 27th, and so it's pressure, but I do my best to relax and enjoy, certainly, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And I should say another one. Kate and I always go shopping on the 23rd. And so that's just tradition. That's basketball, coach life. It was established pre-Amazon. And so we're in the malls, we're fighting the crowds, and so that's just Kate, our tradition. So always look forward to it. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
We'll start with how we ended with Scott. Any fun Christmas traditions in your guys' families? How do you guys celebrate the holiday?
I mean, nothing too traditionally for us, just spending time with family mainly, on both sides of the family. Kind of depends on everybody's schedule, but Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and then it's just me and my family on Christmas morning.
Yeah, mine's changing a little bit now that all my siblings are off going to college somewhere else. But, we still do our Christmas morning, family, like open presents together, hang out, see fam, all that.
And, Scott talked a lot about kind of really wanting to find the consistency for this team. Obviously, one of the bigger tests of your non-conference slate coming up. Just kind of what are you guys looking forward to about this matchup, and what's it going to take to get a win here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, consistency is something that we've talked about quite a lot the past couple weeks. It's definitely something we need to get better at, and our past few games have taught us a lot about ourselves. We've seen good stretches, we've seen horrible stretches. Like, that's just part of it. And Arizona State is going to be another great team that's going to test us, and it's really going to test how much we have been able to grow from our past games and see how much we can adapt. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and it's always it's always great to be back in Gill and playing in front of our fans.
Scott talked about kind of the curse, not exactly a curse, but the difficulty of playing the season after you've won a championship and cut the nets, as he said. That just by nature, some of that drive and grind might be missing. He kind of implied maybe at moments it is. Is that something he's talked to you guys about? And do you feel that? And how do you get that last year's grind back? Even though this year's team's off to a better start record-wise, but that piece of it he's still searching for.
I think that it's the same as last year. Like, we start off, it's a new team, new players, and we just gotta learn the lessons that we learned last year to get to where we ended up, and we're going to figure it out and keep grinding, and we'll eventually get there.
Yeah, it's something he has mentioned a little bit, maybe at the beginning of the season or end of last season. And yeah, it is like a natural thing to relax a little bit, but I think they do a really good job reminding us day in and day out. And obviously we've lost games, so we know we have a lot of things we got to get better at and be able to do to get back to where we were. And like, how cool would it be to be able to win 2 championships? Like, that's the grind that we compete every day at practice for.
He mentioned that defensive consistency is something that he's still looking for. You two are obviously key defenders on the perimeter, and he did praise your consistency, Allie. What do you think has been missing a little bit defensively so far this season?
I would say probably just the lack of little details, and I think that we've worked on that, especially the past few practices, just slowing down a little bit and going over the small details that really matter, just because the little mistakes on defense, if one person makes a mistake, it's going to blow up the whole defense. So, and just, yeah, like he said, just staying consistent. And one thing that we need to get better at is just jumping to the ball and just playing all of us against the ball instead of all of us are kind of on our own island. So just being more together in that. Yeah, and I think defense is something we can control, and that's just something we got to work hard at. So, yeah, we're going to continue to figure it out.
Yeah, I agree. I think we play really hard on D, and I think we work our butts off. It's just learning those details that she was talking about and knowing how to do it together and as a team.
Allie, you famously you walked on at the start of last year, got a scholarship mid-year. This year you're a starter. What's this whole process been like for you? And could you have imagined that this is where you would be at, early on in your sophomore year here at Oregon State?
It's all kind of crazy. It all kind of happened really fast. I got here and I immediately started learning a ton. Scott taught me so much, and I've grown, I think, a lot as a player. And so I think that all that hard work just started to pay off, and I think it's starting to show, so it's really nice.
Kennedy, as a point guard, obviously you have the responsibility of finding a way whenever you're on offense for the team to score points, no matter what way that comes, whether it's yourself or another player. When there are stretches where offensively that's been tough for you guys, especially in some of these losses, how do you feel like you've adjusted and learned from those moments to where going down the stretch you feel like as the opportunities keep coming your way, things will start to kind of figure things out into place, especially heading into a tough matchup against Arizona State?
Yeah, offense takes a little time for us to just kind of flow and get used to each other. I think sometimes when things get sticky, we just got to go back to the basics. Say we're in a drought or whatever, and we need a bucket, go into our money, whatever that may be. It may be different for everybody. And also getting to the X, which means like getting to the paint, getting to the layups, or, kick out threes. So just getting to our money, like I said, and just getting us shots that are the highest percentage.
Obviously, again, let's kind of touch on it. The start of the season has been better than what it was a season ago, but where there have been struggles this season, again, turnovers, inconsistencies on some defense, how does a week like this, where you guys get several days to be back at home, practice, take some time off, focus on finals, how does that kind of help you guys maybe get reset when you guys are now heading to the rest of the stretch of non-conference and pretty much from here on out are going to be playing on a weekly basis?
Yeah, I mean, we've been grinding hard the past few weeks. So we got a couple days at the beginning of this week to just relax and get ready for finals, which has been amazing. And then yesterday when we got back in the gym, I think we were hungry. So it was nice to have a little break. But this week, I mean, we have so much time before our next game, so it's nice we get to kind of break things down or be able to, like, stop at practice. And if we do something wrong, we could, like, walk through it and adjust. So it's been really good to just be able to slow down a little bit and just tweak the small little things that will make for big strides on Sunday.
Anybody else? All right. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Go Beavs.